Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin and welcome back for another video. In today's video I'm going to be populating the start of journal pages that I have for my new bullet journal that I'm using for the second half of this year. This video also doubles as our monthly Q&A, so while I fill in these pages I'm also going to be answering some of the questions you guys have left on my previous videos, as well as the ones that I've gotten over on Instagram. For some of the questions I received, I have answered these previously in either other Q&A videos or I have dedicated videos on those topics, so do make sure to check out the links that I have in the description box below for those. Without further ado though, let's get into our questions. The first one we have was, how far in advance do you decide on monthly themes? This really depends on the month and the theme idea I have. For instance, in February this year, I already knew what theme I wanted to do for October. Whereas when it came to planning my July setup, I decided pretty much the day before I had to film the Plan With Me video. At this stage, I currently have ideas mapped out for the rest of the year, but as I've talked about previously, I also like to keep a list of theme ideas that I want to try one day in my long-term collections journal. This means that I can more easily decide on themes a bit more in advance. Our next question was about my most and least favourite part about living in New Zealand. The most favourite would probably be about the smallness of the country, especially the smallness of my city. It's the capital city of the country, but getting to and from in a car is actually really easy. One of the least favourite things is probably that because we're so far away and a lot smaller, we don't necessarily get all of the things that bigger countries would get. It also means that anytime I order something from overseas, the shipping usually takes a while. Of course, here in New Zealand we're technically an island nation, which meant that we've been very fortunate with the whole you-know-what situation. So that is certainly something I feel very blessed about. It is also just nice that there aren't as many people here as other places. For instance, anytime I go back to Melbourne, I'm just kind of overwhelmed with the sheer volume of people that are in one place. Here in Wellington, we don't have the same level of busyness when it comes to number of people around. How do you pick themes given that you live in the Southern Hemisphere? So being in the Southern Hemisphere and having an audience that is mainly in the Northern Hemisphere presents some challenges. It always feels kind of awkward doing seasonal type themes when most people watching aren't in the same season as me. I don't always let this stop me though. For instance, I did do an autumn theme last May, and I've done a summery cocktails theme for December the year before that. A lot of the time I do try and step away from seasonal themes, and I also like to try and avoid doing holiday-based ones at times too. So like not doing Halloween for October or Christmas for December. It's kind of a balancing act between doing what I want and trying to provide inspiration for others. I know that any theme I make could be used by another person in a different month, but I also recognize that my monthly setups are much more likely to be viewed in conjunction with planning for the month that they're for, if that makes sense. How many journals are you using currently? At the moment, I have the journal that I'm using here, which I call my everyday journal. I have my long-term collections journal, and I've also got my goal planning journal, though it hasn't been getting a lot of love recently. This question is also related to the next one, which is, will you make a journal for your wedding planning? I am intending to, and I do technically have a Scribbles That Matter set aside for it, but it hasn't really gotten a lot of use so far. We haven't really done a whole heap of planning yet, but the intention is to set up some layouts in there to both help with the planning and also just to document the planning. What does your school calendar look like? Our school year runs from the end of January through to the start of December and has 4 school terms. So for this year and the last few years, term 1 has been 11 weeks, term 2 has been 10 weeks, we've had 9 weeks for term 3 and then 8 for term 4. In terms of holidays, we get 2 weeks between each of the terms, but an additional week at the mid-year break, which for me is coming up in the second week of July. Do you think that the bullet journaling community has cliques? I do and I don't. Kinda. Maybe rather than cliques, I'd be more inclined to kind of consider them as camps or like as factions. But I also feel like there's a fair bit of blurriness between those, so a lot of people that fall somewhere in between them. Of course, there's camp do whatever you want, which I somewhat subscribe to. There's camp the bullet journal method, which is more akin to the process outlined by writer Carol. I don't really see a lot of people in a camp that would be bullet journaling must be pretty. I think a lot of the time that mentality is more self-imposed than anything. I think in a way you can kind of see the bullet journal, quote, cliques from Facebook groups. So we have, for instance, the bullet journal minimalists, bullet journal gamers, bullet journal teachers, bullet journal writers, etc. You mentioned previously that you were thinking about quitting teaching. Did you have an alternative career plan? At this stage I don't, but I really do love making these videos and the space of productivity, personal development, goal setting, etc. I would really love to be able to expand my Patreon, so being able to offer more things and offer more value. I'd really love to release my own planner one day. I'd like to release a Notion pack, and some other things that I've been thinking about. At this stage though, they are very much just thoughts and musings, so no concrete alternative career plans as of yet. Have you considered using or making spreads for a B5 journal? For my day-to-day journal, I do very much at the moment prefer an A5, but I also know that I don't write down anywhere near all of the things that I actually get done or need to get done in a day. Moving to a B5 might help with that, and I do have a couple of B5 journals in my stash, and I want to look into making some layouts in, but at this stage that would only be for a video rather than for my personal planning. Have you ever done a spread without colour? Yep, I did an entire monthly setup without colour actually, back at the start of 2020. If you hadn't already seen that, I have the plan with me linked in the description box below. How much time do you spend on Instagram each day? Not really that long, honestly. I don't actually use Instagram as much as I used to. When I had my screen time feature turned on my phone, the max time I'd get for a week was like an hour to an hour and a half. So daily that works out to about 10 to 15 minutes max. I spend way more of my time on Facebook and YouTube though. How do you fit bullet journaling into your routine? Now, I'll start by saying that my routines have taken a bit of a hit recently. With being sick last week and not really using my June pages in my journal all that much, putting bullet journaling into my routine hasn't really happened all that much. What I normally try to do though is keep my journal on my desk, either at home or at work, so that I can check in with it whenever I need to. And I'll often make a point of checking in with it whenever I have a non-contact or a prep period, also at lunchtime and normally in the evening, and that seems to work well for me. It doesn't need to be a huge amount of time on a day-to-day basis, just enough so that I know what's going on and what I'm supposed to be doing. My more major setting up points in my journal, like monthly planning or setting up my weekly spreads, that now typically happens on the weekend. How do you manage bullet journal burnout? Poorly. No, I normally find that if I'm burning out when it comes to using my journal, it typically means one of two things, or sometimes both. One of them being that I'm trying to make myself use my journal in a way that I'm finding tedious, boring, or I'm just not getting value out of it. Or two, I might have a lot going on in life and taking time in my journal kind of feels like I'm either wasting time or like I just don't have enough time to do that. That in particular is normally the main reason I might get a bit burnt out in my bullet journal. But from identifying that, you can then find ways to remedy it. So trying to simplify things, or trying scheduling time with your journal and then sticking to that schedule to try and build the habit back up. This question is very much related to our next one, which is, do you have any advice for getting back into bullet journaling after time away from it? My biggest tip would be to do some reflection before you dive back in as to what made you stop in the first place and why you want to get back into it. Being able to identify those things is going to better allow you to make sure that getting back into it doesn't quickly bring you to the same place as before. So, stepping away. It's also good to mention that I have some other relevant tips for this question and the last one in my video on how to keep up with your journal, which might be helpful. That one's also linked in the description box. What do you do if you forget to write something in your future log? This hasn't been a problem that I can remember having, but that's probably because most of my future plans have some other kind of built-in memory trigger. So for instance, maybe a booking on my Outlook calendar, or there might be a Facebook event, Or maybe it's the kind of appointment where they text you and remind you the week of. Do you ever pencil in future plans with an actual pencil? I have previously, but often I don't write plans in my journal until they're a bit more set in stone. What I'll instead more commonly do is write in a to-do task to sort the plans out. Can you do a walkthrough video of your Archer and Olive stash? I certainly can if there's interest for it, so if that's something that you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. Do you guys think that that video would be more suitable for on this channel or on my vlog channel? Would you ever dye your hair green? I've done it before and I'd do it again. Back in 2014, I think, was when I dyed the underside of my hair a kind of tealish green colour. Excuse the not as good as it could be in terms of showing the colour picture. It's the best that I had, but you can kind of see it here. Are you going to do another giveaway journal? I certainly am planning on doing so. That would be a giveaway journal with the pages set up by me for January to June of next year. So I'll be doing a giveaway of that one either in late November or early December. But in terms of something else that's giveaway worthy, recently this channel hit 20,000 subscribers, and honestly I am so blown away by that number. A huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and as a way to say thank you, I thought it might be nice to do a little giveaway for that as well. The way this 20k giveaway is going to work is that 2 lucky winners are going to receive an Archer and Olive product of their choice. So that could be a journal, a set of acrylographs, it's up to them. I'll be announcing the winner in my bullet journal flip through video on the 4th of July, so you have until the 3rd to enter. If you wanted to be in to win, do go and check out the link in the description box below or in the pinned comment in the comment section. As I said, this is just a way for me to say thank you so much to the amazing team of 20k that we have. It's just really cool to think that there's that many people that enjoyed my content enough to hit the subscribe button. Giveaway stuff aside though, question of the day for you, and throwing back to one of our earlier questions, how many journals are you using at the moment, and what are they for? As I said, I'm currently using 3, so my day-to-day bullet journal, my long-term collections journal, and my goal planning journal, but I'm always curious to know what the planning systems of other people look like. As always team, thank you for watching. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more on planning, productivity, and personal development. Until next time, bye!